What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Opelika-Auburn News, now overtime podcast. God, it's been so long, I don't even remember what we call this thing. We're here at Plainsman Park, where the Auburn baseball team will not be playing tonight. They're playing on the road at Troy. But there's the buses over here. We might catch them warming
It might
up.
be in the background.
I'm Justin Lee. This is Adam Cole. We're taking our show on the road. We're doing some remote episodes, so we figured today Plainsman Park would be the place to be. So that's where we are. Adam. What's new, man? I guess we'll start. Let's just talk about baseball, man. You want to talk about baseball?
Baseball's in, as of last week, it seems like a pretty interesting position. A lot of folks kind of projecting them to actually host a postseason regional.
Right. So they didn't get the big series win over Arkansas that they wanted. They did get 1 out of 3. But I don't know. What were your takeaways from that? Which were you there all weekend?
I was there all weekend. They're in an interesting position, and they have been as of I guess really game 2 of the Tennessee series. Actually, they've been dealing with a couple pretty key injuries to some of their pitchers.
So it's a gator. Ignore that.
Hayden Mullins, their usual Friday starter, went down with an injury in game 1 of the UT game, and then Blake Burkhalter actually went down with, I believe, a quad injury in that game as well. Right. The way Butch Thompson's talked about it, I think Mullins is going to be out for at least a couple more weeks. Burkhalter, I think, is day-to-day, but there hasn't really been an official confirmation of when he'll be back.
Sure.
Did not pitch in the Arkansas series, so the SEC saves leader was out for that, and that's just you could kind of see the impact of it. Ultimately, they've got a pretty young bullpen, and so
this was just an interesting couple of weeks because it was you're playing the best team and the second best team. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You definitely wanted to beat Arkansas, and maybe they played Tennessee so close. So it was like, well, maybe they're the second best team in the conference, and they have a chance to prove it against Arkansas. But as long as the goal now though, there's still a lot ahead of them because if you're among the 3 best teams in the SEC, 3 SEC teams are probably going to go to Omaha.
Yeah,
let's be real. And if you go to Omaha, that's a banner year. That's the goal. Yeah. That's the goal for this team. But I don't know. That's just. But where do you think they are as far as the goal, their vision? Do you think they're downtrodden by losing to Arkansas?
I don't think they are. I think the way Thompson's talked about things for the amount of time that I've been here, obviously not all year, but he really is big on talking them through process and just kind of not changing your approach, whatever. And I don't think he's been really disappointed by the results. Of course, you want wins, but
you're competing.
to get one from Tennessee and then to get one from Arkansas, I think is pretty big. And they were competing very much. Seems to be a buzzword.
If there's one they didn't like, it was that first game against Arkansas when they blew the lead, right?
Yeah, and that's ultimately they haven't really been in that situation very often this year. Of they were up 5-0, and then of course I think it ended up being 11-8.
Yeah.
And it looked like, if I remember right, it was that game. It was like the final inning. They had the tying run in position. Of course, you get that in the 9th inning. It's tough chance, but they managed to mount a little bit of a comeback there.
Sure.
And they seem to be pretty consistent.
If I blew a 5-0 lead, I would be completely demoralized.
Yeah.
There'd be no punch back. I'd be
right.
So that is impressive.
Yeah. And so I think they're where they want to be is, all things considered, and you look at what they have, left. Troy, of course, today. Then they've got a midweek game with Samford next week. That should be, honestly, I think, really helpful in terms of their bullpen.
Sure, yeah.
You get more time for those arms, but Alabama and Kentucky, last 2 SEC series, those should be winnables, if not.
What's Alabama this weekend?
Alabama is this weekend here at Plainsman Park.
Wow. An in-state's week. So they're playing Troy.
Truly. Yeah. But yeah, third worst. That's the third worst team record-wise, conference record-wise, in the SEC, and then Kentucky second worst conference record-wise.
Right.
So things shaping up to really have a good kind of end of the regular season heading into Hoover.
Right.
But yeah, no, they're looking in good position for sure.
Right. Yeah, and like we said, we saw, what was it, D1 baseball had the projection for Omaha with Auburn there. Mm-hmm. I think that had 4 SEC teams in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately at the end of the day is, I don't know if you needed to. I mean, obviously, you really wanted to beat Tennessee. You really wanted to beat Arkansas. But what you needed to do, talking about needs and wants, is to prove you're in that class. And maybe they did that.
Yeah.
And now it's a competition with LSU, with some of the others, Vanderbilt, obviously, and Mississippi State, obviously, who have talent. You're trying to be in that top tier, that top fourth of the conference, that top 3 teams. It looks like they've got a shot. I mean, the way they battled, obviously with Arkansas at home, you wanted to win at home, so that's tough. But I don't know, man. I think they should still be feeling pretty good, and I'll be curious as to how they close it here with like you said, sweepable series.
Yeah, it's definitely like
just a Gator again.
These Gators, man.
Not a Florida Gator.
Definitely like it seems like
Deere.
the right time for them as far as getting Tennessee and Arkansas, and as I understand it too, they're the only I think they're the only team in the West this year that played Tennessee. There was some stat I saw that they're the only faction of an SEC team that played Tennessee. I'm pretty sure it was one of the only teams in the West. I don't think Arkansas plays them in the regular season this year.
Right.
So, but it seems like the right time to really get those teams, because you get at least 6 SEC games, 8 games to kind of round out the regular season here against very beatable teams, and you're coming off playing 2 of the best teams in the country. So it'll be interesting to, I guess, see how things shake out. But seems like those 2 series came at the right time, so to speak.
Tell us about Joseph, Adam. Tell us about your story. If anyone hasn't read it,
yes.
If anyone hasn't read it, what was it like catching up with him?
So he's had a pretty interesting story, and on paper you just see the improvement in the numbers, and I think that was kind of what initially stood out as far as doing a story. He's from Puerto Rico originally, and when I went to talk to him, I kind of just wanted to talk more about the improvement and what's allowed for that to happen. And it was funny because he brought it up unprompted, but he said really the language barrier and kind of overcoming that, and really the way he put it was becoming more confident in speaking English.
Right. Comfortable and confident.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said that's helped tenfold, and then I talked to Tim Hudson about it, and we talked about things working on the mound and whatnot, and then I kind of asked him at the end. He said, I said Joseph kind of said the language barrier was pretty significant, and Tim was
said
like,
what we all would have said.
Yeah. And had some insightful things to say. I think Butch kind of cracked me up the most, though, because I asked him the way that Joseph's improved the most in the last year, and he said, well, I can say a sentence. And he can hear it, understand it, and say it back, and we can have a conversation, and he kind of took a beat, and he was like, I'm not being a smart aleck either. It's very much the way he's grown, and they see a lot of potential in him, and it's hard not to see it. Especially Hudson talked about there's a lot of opportunity for him to get more velocity in his pitches, especially, and he's topping out I think like 93 right now. But he's big body, has flashed the talent. Unfortunately, wasn't there against Arkansas this weekend. He kind of honestly had a dud. But no, it was definitely really interesting catching up with him and just kind of seeing how he's grown. It's something that I don't really know that I would even think about right off the bat. But
no, not at all.
Yeah.
And Huddy said, what we're all thinking is like, if you dropped me in a Latin American country, told me I'd probably be doing it slower than he is.
Right.
So what did he say? Like, he was like, last year my English was like a 3.5.
Yeah, he said it was like
that was like a 7 or a 7.5.
Yeah, and it was
and that's not it's not it opens doors for him is what it is.
Right.
It opens the door for him for his entire baseball career in the United States, where he can make a lot of money. So that's I don't know but that was interesting. I thought it was a really good story, and like you wouldn't even think of that, like like how just being more comfortable and more confident. And again, he committed without visiting because of COVID.
That was also the really interesting thing.
When we talk about being dropped in a foreign country in a foreign place, he didn't even visit.
He quite literally got dropped in, and he. It was funny. I asked him, like, just was it scary at all? Trying to choose where you're going to play college baseball in a brand new country, without being able to visit. And he said, it definitely was a little bit scary, but he felt like just in some of the meetings he was able to have, the Zoom meetings he was able to have, that this was the right place. And obviously, still here, year and a half in, and it seems like the sky's the limit at this
Right.
point. To be able to be a consistent Sunday starter, have
Right.
was top 5 before the weekend, but now top 10 ERA in the SEC as a sophomore. It's really impressive, and it'll be interesting to see how he kind of continues to develop for sure.
Do you figure he'll start this Sunday?
Yeah,
Probably.
no, I think he'll remain in that role, definitely,
Yeah.
and it's something I know he really enjoys, and so yeah, he'll definitely. I'm pretty sure be back out on the mound on Sundays.
What's next, Adam? You want to talk about softball?
Yeah, no, tomorrow's a big day.
They're headed to Gainesville, right?
Yep.
We got some games today.
Yeah, they've got one game. There's one game in Gainesville today, and they're one of I think 4 games tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Wednesday we should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Auburn plays Missouri. 10-7 game. 2:30. That's. Yeah, and it's softball tournament single elimination, I think, which is weird.
I think so, yeah.
Makes no sense, but that's how it is. But yeah, Auburn got swept up in Knoxville, which is not what they wanted. I haven't seen how close the standings were as far as like how high they could have finished versus how low. But obviously, 10th place finish, not what they wanted this year. It looked better, at times. It certainly looked better than a 10th place finish. But we talk about the SEC be one of the top 2 or 3 teams, and you'll do well in the national tournament. Softball, I mean, that's tenfold. I mean, well, twicefold. Softball, the SEC softball is the place to be, and that's the reason why, like, all of them are ranked. So, and this SEC tournament will be tough. I think if they win, they get Alabama, which good luck with that. But then you turn to it's counterintuitive because you turn to the NCAA tournament and it is easier. It's easier games. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see how far they can get. But yeah, kind of scary being in a single elimination game in the SEC tournament. The NCAA postseason won't be like that. But we'll see. I guess the hitting kind of dropped on them a little bit in that Georgia series and that Tennessee series is how it felt to me.
Yeah.
And just couldn't get the clutch runs when they needed them. Just couldn't get the runs when they needed them at this point in time. It's how it seemed to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, and they showed like they had some really big innings against Georgia, and that was I think really the deciding factor. But then with Tennessee, just from the bit I watched, it seemed like that was kind of when they played Georgia too. I think Georgia was 15th and they were 16th, and it was kind of like, okay, like
I think they won that series, but they still dropped one.
They dropped. I think they dropped one. But it was a situation where it was like, okay, well, like, are you gonna show that you're in the, I guess maybe the top half of the SEC if you can beat Georgia?
Right.
And then they did that, and then I think they're like 15th in the country, and Tennessee's 14. And it was again kind of the same situation. It's like, okay, are you on Tennessee's level?
Inching up.
Yeah, and just not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if they even. I can't remember if they even had a lead. I think they maybe blew a lead.
They lost 5-2. They lost 7-4, and they lost 3-1. So you got 2 runs, 4 runs, and 1 run. It's not going to win you many series at all.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, you go on the road, go to a different ballpark. That can happen. But yeah, a disappointing finish, I do think, for them. But
yeah.
I mean, you just gotta go with the punches, I guess, and then try to make a whole new season in the postseason.
Yeah, and this game against Missouri, it's one where it's 3 seed differential, but like Missouri, at least from what I've seen, is a beatable team. I think they've kind of put it together towards the back end of the year, but at the same time, I know their pitching has been pretty consistently shaky.
So 4th seeded Florida is 13-11. 10th seeded Auburn is 11-13.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not a lot that separates.
Right.
Yeah, they could have been as high as 4th or 5th or 6th if they had won their series this past weekend. So, but again, I think Auburn is above the cut line as far as good contenders in the postseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are 10 or more SEC softball teams that are going to be marked nationally as dangerous in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And so I think Auburn's one of them.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And like, just the bats, I think, have really been their strong suit all year, and Matty Pinta's been great on the mound for them. But it's interesting. I know we've talked a lot about like Bri Ellis's, the freshman home run record, and she still hasn't eclipsed that mark. She's tied it. But I wonder how much that's in her brain.
I don't know.
It was interesting talking to her about it because she seemed to be very like. She seemed to separate it pretty well. It seemed to be more about personal goals for her than actually, chasing records and stuff like that. But since, of course, since tying it, hasn't hit a home run yet.
Yeah.
But, we'll see.
We'll see. What else should we talk about, Adam? What else is going on? We got basketball,
also tomorrow,
recruiting.
Yeah, so big day tomorrow.
Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. We're talking about Wednesday.
Big day Wednesday. Big day Wednesday. You've got softball, but then you've also got Julian Phillips announcing his commitment. I want to say he's let me look at my
He's a 5-star.
piece of paper. He is a 5-star.
A bona fide 5-star.
Yeah, he's top 15 player, I think 12th in the country by 24/7, 13 by Rivals. Listed.
I mean, that's if it wasn't for Jabari, I think that'd be the all-time signee right there if it happens.
I think it would be.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
they're just coming out of the woodwork now.
So you've got
who they got? Who's his top? It's Auburn, Florida State, South Carolina.
South Carolina, Southern California, and then Tennessee, and then he's also got Overtime Elite in G League.
Do you think he accidentally did USC twice and Frank Martin's I'll take it?
It was different logos. I'll say that much. So
he accidentally texted his little editor guy USC twice. Yeah. No.
But
I doubt it. Frank Martin's not even there anymore, is he?
No, he's at UMass.
Who's their coach now?
I forget his name.
It doesn't matter. How's he gonna land that kid? Whatever.
We'll see. That'd be pretty big for them. But
that would be.
He visited Auburn on the 25th. Got offered 2 days later. But former LSU commit, so Traore teammate. And I think it'd be, it's a. I don't know. They've already got their front court set with Traore and Broom.
Sure.
And Phillips is listed as a power forward by 24/7, but I think gets more of a small forward kind of comp and.
Sure.
Wing
player.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he'd be a big. Bruce is reloading for talent. I think, and it's not so much about filling voids or, at one point it was like. Okay, we're building around Sharif, and it's like, all right, we lost Sharif, so let's go find Wendell, who's like Sharif Jr. I don't really think this cycle is like that. I think the cycle is like LSU imploded, and all this talent is there, and they're just salivating. I think that's what it is this time. It's like, how many of these guys can we poach?
Right.
And we got one already.
Well, and it was crazy looking at last year's class because I figure, okay, well, you get Jabari, you get a transfer, and somebody like Kessler on top of all these other transfers. That's got to be a pretty good class. I think it was ranked 76th nationally, which I was not expecting at all when I went to look at that. But this year's already without Phillips is, I want to say, 13th nationally. It's in the teens. I know that much. So don't know how much this would bump it hypothetically, but still, it's a very, very
Auburn
loaded class.
Basketball.
Yes.
Here in the shadows of the Coliseum, Beardy Eves. It's come a long way from that place. I can tell you that, Adam. You weren't here. I was there. It's come a long way. It's unbelievable, but we'll see. People don't know where to. Just keep it locked to us, right? Follow your Twitter. We'll let you know what's going on. We'll probably
on the radar.
We'll preview it and we'll review it and we'll let everybody know, right?
Yep.
What else? What else we got?
Well, I
think we've been going a minute. We can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. Last thing, just
everyone's
kind of some
favorite sport.
It's pretty much the lull period at this point, but transfer portal keeping it hot.
Turn hairs back there. They can see it a little bit.
You can see the scoreboard a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But
tiny bit is huge.
Yeah, you can see part of it.
The world's largest television.
Basically.
Go ahead.
But just kind of a couple names to look at.
Okay. Transfer portal. It's portal season.
I might be butchering this, so bear with me. And if he hears this, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Odua Isabor, I want to say that's how you pronounce it.
Sure it is.
Went on a visit to Auburn late April. Former UCLA edge rusher. Really a big thing Carson has talked about is depth at D-line, kind of that edge rusher position, because it's pretty barren after Hall and Leota, actually. I was surprised. I think Brooks is like the only other one.
Sure.
So they want more depth there, obviously. Receivers another place that they want more, and they went out and they
picked up that Miami kid. What's his name?
They went out and picked up Dazzlin is his first name. Dazzlin Worsham. From Birmingham, went to Hewitt-Trustville, yeah.
He's a really good high school player. Did not record a stat at Miami.
But apparently that was largely injury-based.
Sure.
Apparently.
Sure.
So we'll see.
Sure.
But
you hope he gets right back to where he was at Hewitt-Trustville when he was. It was weird because he was like a 3-star, but he had offers from everybody.
Yeah.
He had really good offers. I guess college coaches liked him, and the recruiting analysts didn't. I don't know, because he was a 3-star with like Alabama offer. Like, how often does that even happen? Usually you get that Alabama offer, you automatically get the
bump up a little
Alabama
bit.
bump, but not with him. So it's a curious case with him. But if you're Brian Harsin and he's available and he's ready to commit, I think that's a gamble you take.
Yeah.
Here's a guy, you see if maybe he can be what he was in high school again, or if the ratings and it's almost like it's weird. It's a weird thing. We'll see.
Definitely has the potential, I think, especially if the injuries stay out of the
high
way.
top end, it would seem.
Yeah. But that is not the only former portal receiver, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Well, there's another receiver in the portal who has been linked to Auburn.
Who are we talking about?
Ricky Pearsall. Named a top 3 last week on May 3rd.
Where's he from? We don't know.
Arizona State.
Okay.
And last year was really his big year at Arizona State. Was his 3rd year there. Had 48 receptions for 580 yards, 4 touchdowns. Pretty productive.
Is he a fair trade for Devin? Cambridge? It's a basketball player. I was joking. That's not. I was just joking. Yeah. No. Yeah. All right. Final 3. Who is it? Florida.
It's
Oregon,
Florida, and Auburn.
Bo's out there.
Bo's
in his ear. We don't want to know what those texts are like.
But hasn't named a decision date, but that's a name to keep an eye on.
All right.
Yeah, as well as Isabor, because he hasn't posted anything else about any other visits or top 3s or anything like that.
Sure.
But another receiver name too, kind of keep an eye on, hasn't necessarily been linked to Auburn. Had an Auburn offer out of high school, but went to Georgia instead. Matt Landers was a 3-star recruit. Didn't really do anything in, I want to say, 2 years at Georgia, and then transferred to Toledo.
The Rockets. He's a Rocket. He's a Rocket man.
7 games as a Rocket. 20 receptions. 514 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Action. 5 tutties in 7 games?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So, pretty productive. And you think about,
12 touchdowns in 7 games.
514 yards on 20 catches.
Sure.
I'm not good at math, but I know that comes out to a good chunk of yards per reception.
A bit.
So we'll see. Again,
amount.
Has been pretty quiet since he entered the portal. I want to say that was a May 3rd entering too.
Sure.
But that's a name to keep an eye on. Other than that,
it's 25 yards per.
Something like that.
It's 5 and 100, and then
Math.
Go ahead.
But that's certainly a name to keep an eye on. Something else too that's just interesting to look at. I've found with the top available portal guys, if you look at all the best available lists, all of them seem to be needs that Harsin's talked about.
Sure.
He's talked about receiver. He's talked about defensive line, and
he's a guy who keeps some stuff close to the vest, but other stuff he's just like, this is what we want.
Yeah. He got prodded on it a little bit. He was saying right guys, and then that was at Ambush in Montgomery.
He
kept saying we want the right guys, and then what is the right guy? And then he was finally like, well, you guys can look at the roster, and it was we can, but please say it. So, yeah. But you look at it, and it's top to bottom. It's those 3 that he mentioned. It's the defensive back,
receiver, DB,
and D-line.
Rush.
So, seems like there's plenty of names out there. Plenty of time to add stuff. So,
yeah.
We'll see, but that's the latest Cruton update.
Yeah, everyone, portal season. I mean, again, we're learning, and not, I'm sure the staff knows this, but the fans who are like, we'll just go in the portal and just get, the 5 new linemen, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's not that.
It doesn't work that way for anyone. Like, oh well, there's this was really good. Was he Maryland? Where's that receiver from? Wherever he's from.
Pitt.
Yeah. Like, oh, we'll just get him.
Winner.
Not even on the radar.
Yeah.
Like, no. Because again, when someone good goes in the portal, everyone's after him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, we'll just dip in the portal. So is all 129 other teams. So
yeah.
However many there are now. So how many are there? Used to be 119. Yeah, it used to be 119 back in the day.
I think it's gone up a little bit.
Whatever.
At least 121 now with.
Doesn't matter.
James Madison, and then was that Sam Houston now too?
Tim, you plays football?
Yeah, they were like an FCS powerhouse. They're bumping up, them and Sam Houston.
I don't know about that. We'll have to go ask Mickey. He's gone. He's in Gainesville. All right. Softball coach, Mickey Dean. He used to coach at James Madison.
There we go.
Yeah. All right.
Morning.
I think we're good. Are we out of here?
I think we're good. We're rolling. Still no sign of the Auburn baseball team. I guess they're a no-show for their game against Troy this evening. We're
going to send out a party, a search party. Where are they? Gosh, you're late. No, they're fine. But yeah, no, they play tonight. I don't know if this will be posted by then. I hope so, but we'll see. You know, we're just living on the edge right now. It's
cooling.
Deep summer vibes. We're here.
It's not humid today though. That's
deep
nice.
Summer. Yeah. No.
Doesn't feel like deep summer.
Yeah, we found some shade.
It did a couple days ago. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, dude. It'll get muggy.
That's what I've heard.
It'll get swampy. You just wait.
I'm ready.
But anyway, all right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see where we're at next time. Maybe Sanford Lawn, or we're taking the show on the road. So, but as always, hit us up with questions or anything you want, and we'll keep the show on the road. So, for Adam Cole, I'm Justin Lee. This is OA Now Overtime.